Hi, and thanks for joining us on another edition of Two Guys and a Lot of Wine. I'm Bobby P.
And I'm Rocky Holland.
And you're in for a treat tonight. We're doing something we haven't done in quite a while. We are going to be tasting 4 wines covered from 4 different local establishments that they consider would be the best under $20. And joining us, we have 2 very special guests. I want to thank Rocky for bringing them on and Sandy Holland for bringing them on. Yep. We have Ronni Newton, managing editor of weha.com.
Hello.
Thank you, Ronni.
Thank you.
Hope you will enjoy yourself tonight on the show.
Well, I need a couple glasses of wine after the day I've had, after the week I've had, so this is great.
And you will get that. And we have Mr. John Lyons, aka the Weatherman of West Hartford Neighbors and Friends page. And I'm curious as to how your weatherman capabilities will rate some of the wine tonight.
I don't know if they will, but
we're
going to give it a shot.
I think they will.
We're going to try.
So Rocky, once again, tell people what exactly is going on again so they're clear as to what we have on the table tonight.
So my original idea was that I wanted to have a show where we went and did the best happy hour wines. I thought that would make a great show. We even considered doing it off-site. That would have been a problem to just logistically, so I said, why don't we go to each bar and secure a bottle of their happy hour wine, ask them that. Well, unfortunately in the state of Connecticut, in order to do that, you have to open it there and then you have to purchase 4 glasses in it. So it would have been cost-wise, it would not be very cost-effective.
But it would have been enjoyable.
It would have been a really cool show, but in order to get the bottles here, that was an issue. So I said, why don't we go to 4 of local wine shops and just ask them, hey, set the price point at $20 or less. What do you think is a wine that over-delivers for the price? And
we should say
you're going to be in competition.
You don't know what these are.
I said, cover it up. I don't want to know what it is. In fact, Sandy went with me, and so I explained it, and I said, she's going to walk around with you, and you guys do your thing. And so I have no idea what any of these are.
Now, may I ask a question? So about the wines, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you put any requirements, like are these local varietals? Or
no requirements
so
other
it could
than
be a French wine, it could be an Italian wine, it could be a California wine, we have no idea.
Could be from Bulgaria. I mean,
whatever that particular establishment thought was their best.
Well, they knew that they were going to be competing against some other wine stores, so I'm hoping that they brought their A game, but you never know.
We're going to find out.
So we're going to reveal not only the wine, but the establishment that sold.
That's correct. And so we're going, and
this
you know,
great.
this is in all fairness, because I'm friends with a couple of the store owners. Some have been on this show. This is subjective. It's all for fun. I know that people have different tastes, so
that's true.
Let's not look too deep into this.
We will not
because
look too
I want to
deep.
remain friends with them if I pick their wine as the number 4 wine. So
don't try this at home.
That's
yes,
right. So we're going to actually
very
start
dangerous.
with the first wine. And John, let me pour yours
Yes, sir.
first. This is a white wine. That much I do know. I can tell by pouring it, it's got some legs on it already.
How can you tell that?
When I was pouring it, when it was hitting the side of the glass, you can see it was almost like oil on the side going down, which means it might be a little heavier than what I was expecting. There you go. And Rocky?
So I'll give while he's pouring a little wine geeky thing about legs. Legs, you've heard of tearing or legs that go down the side of a wine glass. So wine and alcohol will stick and have different rates of evaporation, and they stick to silica products, which this is a silica product, and they evaporate at different rates. So the more alcohol that is in it, the thicker that the tears are that come down the side of the wine glass. And so if it was plastic, it wouldn't work. You don't see tears on plastic. So
we're going to get a lot of good wine terminology tonight, aren't we? I think we're going to get a lot of.
We're going to talk about the 5 S's or
the 5. I don't know what the 5 S's are.
It's sight. I got to try to remember.
From the
sight, swirl, sip,
yeah,
swish, and spit. I think, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
We're not going to do
we don't
spitting.
need to
There'll be
spit
no
on TV,
spitting
do we?
tonight. So anyway, this is awesome.
Wow, that's interesting right off the bat. It's not quite as heavy as I thought it might be because of the original pour.
Anybody want to describe what it smells like?
It smells like a shard.
It's got a. It smells like a shard.
It smells like a shard, actually. But
Yeah.
it's a little honey, a little lemon.
I was thinking Pinot, but you're right, Chardonnay, isn't it?
That's just going to be my first guess, only because when I saw the legs on it and the first bit of the aroma.
Yeah,
that
that's true. Yeah.
But it's not as cloying as I find some shards. So this is going to be very interesting.
I don't
what
think
this
it's
is.
anywhere near as sweet as like a Pinot, and it's heavier than a Sauvignon Blanc.
It's pretty dry.
It's Chardonnay.
It's definitely heavy.
It's not a California shard, I don't think.
I think
I like
Chardonnay would be a great
I
guess.
agree with you.
Yeah.
It's Italian, I think, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not a
Yeah.
California, because California
Yeah.
would be a little bit more
Yeah.
buttery, I think, right off the bat. I may even go so far as say this might be a,
Now, do we, to keep things pure, do we have, I should have asked this before the production, do we have glasses for each wine or not? Or are we just
well,
gonna
John,
tough it
here's
out?
the deal. We
Yeah.
should have had glasses
Low
for each
budget.
wine.
What we can do.
I thought we might be drinking all reds, so I thought I didn't need to bring another set of glasses.
Gotcha.
In retrospect, though, I should have brought another set of glasses.
You know what we can do is we can rinse with the next wine. This is what I do at tastings. You pour a little bit in, rinse it, and then we could dump it in the best in glass. By the way, we should announce that we have a new thing on our
That is
show that we're going to
correct.
do from now on. That's,
Instead of our Vino Oscar that we've been using award for the best wine of the night, we now have the best in glass, which would be
Best in glass.
designated to the best wine that we've tasted tonight. So I want to thank Rocky for getting that, and hopefully that'll last many shows without breaking.
yeah,
We'll see
without
what
breaking.
happens.
Tried to
but,
find one in plastic, but they don't sell them.
I'm going to say, because it is a little bit on the Chardonnay-esque side for me, which I tend not to gravitate towards, I still like this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's chilled properly. This is a good drinking wine, so I'm going to say it's a good value if it was under $20.
I feel like I taste like a honeydew-ish kind of taste, maybe.
I did say honey at first. I think I said honey and lemon, but there is a honeyness to it. Not a strong honey, but not like it coats your mouth or your jowls or anything like that, but it's pleasant.
It is.
So I like this. I would definitely drink a full glass of this.
Well,
Rocky?
Ronnie, you can if you want.
I'm kind of
No,
a, yeah,
that's okay.
I was going to say, I mean, and we can revisit the wines if you're like, if we get to the end and it's like, I can't decide on 2 and 3, you know, we can revisit, but
If we make too much of a bracket, we're all going to be, but it'll be fun, but
Yeah.
none of us will be driving home,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I try to do small pours, and I might have poured Ronnie a little bit. I do not have a spit glass or a pour glass.
Oh
so-
no, I'll drink all of it.
Okay, you will.
I'm still like considering the taste of it, and I think the aftertaste actually has some butteriness to it.
That's another reason why I thought it might be
Yeah.
sure. There was a tad bit of butteriness, but once again, I could be completely wrong. I don't know.
it also has some oak treatment, I can tell. It's just
It
like
does,
a
yeah.
vanilla flavor to it. It's kind of a spicy, almost cinnamon capsaicin, nutmeg thing, which is, we're checking a lot of Chardonnay boxes. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on Chardonnay, but if it's not, the only other thing that I could think of that this might be would be like something obscure like Vermentino. Could kind of be, some of your southern Italy varietals can be this thick, but I mean,
But
like
at
a
that price point, that's what
yeah,
I'd have
at
to
that,
ask.
at that price point. Well, some of your southern Italian ones can be very good price.
Yeah,
And I
so,
wouldn't put it past Sandy to be conspiring with either Jacob or Matt
yeah.
to really fool our taste buds to
Yeah.
think that. They're going to think that's a Chardonnay, and it's not a Chardonnay. But
Well, and that's just it. When you know you're in a contest, are you going to go and grab like the Chardonnay off the shelf that everybody drinks on Tuesday? I don't know.
But
I don't
across
know
the
what I
board, it's a very pleasant drinking wine. I have
It's
no
pleasant
problem with
drinking. I don't know if this is what I would consider in my wheelhouse that I'm going to go out and buy, but it's pleasant. So
All right.
this is probably not going to be my number one.
Interesting. Okay, so
This
good.
is probably not going to
Not
be
gonna
number
be my
one?
number
Really?
one, yeah.
So you just didn't like it that much?
I'm not big on bold white wines. I like
Okay.
delicate white wines
Okay.
better.
Okay.
It's interesting because I wouldn't call this a bold white
I
wine.
think it's
It's pretty robust, though.
It is robust.
It is pretty robust.
But when I think of a bold white, I always go with a California Chard. That is
California
a bold
Chard.
Yeah.
white.
Yeah, yeah.
Most other stuff comparable to a California Chard is mild to me, for my taste buds. But I understand exactly where you're coming from. But I'm going to give it a solid B.
okay.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah.
All right, well, it's going to go number 2 here. So this I know is a red. You got a tad bit left in
I
there,
know,
John.
I
think
know.
you can't just let that. There we
So
go.
that one's
That's
not
perfect.
that one's not being served chilled.
This is
You can
not.
tell from the condensation on the foil here.
We usually chill the reds a little bit. Like if I'm bringing them over, I'll put them in
You
a
can,
couple
yep.
ice packs because most reds are better slightly chilled. Not all reds, but most reds, and then obviously whites. People tend to chill their whites too much, and their reds not enough.
That
My husband
best in
likes
class.
to have wine very cold. White wine, if he's drinking it, it has to be
I'm-
really cold.
So I like it very
Completely
cold.
guilty of doing that myself. I always drink my white wines too cold. Again, it's whatever you like. I know people that swear by putting ice in red wine. I can't stand it. I can't stand to look at it,
I
but
can't.
I mean, if that's what you
I
like to
can't
do,
partake
then
of that activity.
yeah, you'll have to leave my house immediately if you do that.
Well, our wine fridge is set on 40 degrees, so that's
Yeah, that's pretty cold, yeah.
Probably pretty cold.
For a wine fridge. Interesting aroma.
Oh my.
Got a lot of
It's got a little tartness
Better
to it.
than I thought it would.
mixture of
it would
berries
be.
here.
Yeah. I
I'd
didn't
this
think
is
I was
like a
gonna like it
blackberry and
when
a
I saw
cherry
it.
and a
I smell
blueberry
cherry,
and
definitely.
a raspberry and
Got some pepper there.
a whole lot of stuff. Huh.
Now, my first guess would say this is a Spanish, but
I don't know enough about reds. I know the Cabernets, that's about it.
That's got
Wow,
some
this
tartness.
is, but it's really fruity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tart. It's not sweet. It is tart and it's very fruity. And I don't know what it is.
I have no clue.
I think it has seen some oak treatment.
that tartness is pretty.
Tartness is
strong.
indicative of cold climate. So,
Really?
I mean,
I'm
typically,
learning a lot tonight.
Wow,
Yeah,
I'm learning a lot
typically-
too.
Really?
it can
Rocky,
be
you're
indicative.
impressing me.
Oh, well, every now. Stop now. Keep going.
So
I'll
if,
stop,
and you
I'll
mentioned
stop.
Jacob before. If Jacob's watching this, he'll know that I'm the person who will go to him and say, I'm having scrambled eggs for dinner. What kind of wine would go best with that? And he'll laugh and actually come up with
Jacob
something
would be
that
the guy to
works.
go to.
Yep.
And he-
Now, all
he
Well,
three
the
of
only,
definitely-
the only problem with that, Ronnie, is sometimes you might not make it home in dinner on time because he'll give you so much information.
He does.
That is
yes,
true,
He's
that is
very
true.
informative.
Now,
about
let me
these
jump
things.
in here. For the audience's edification, of course, I know who Jacob is. Who's Jacob?
Oh, Jacob Studenroth.
Okay.
Wise
Yeah,
old
from
dog.
Wise Old Dog.
Wise old dog. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, the,
You're right.
He's very patient with me because I don't remember from one time to
Mm-hmm.
the next what wine he's suggested, with a few exceptions.
yeah,
so.
That's the one on, is it South Quaker?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay.
You know, all the people he's got are very knowledgeable and very good to talk to.
he's got good staff there.
Very good staff.
In fact, Thomas was the one that picked out this wine.
This
well,
wine right
it
here?
might not be this one, but one of these four wines was picked out by Thomas. He was there. Jacob was not. So
It's interesting because with the cold weather really just around the corner, even though it's not that cold today, this is a nice cold weather red that you can see sitting in a restaurant here in town or whatever, nice chilly night. This has the characteristics that I like in a red. It's got that tartness. I get a little pepperiness there too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's I don't want to say it's an eating wine. Obviously you can eat with this wine, but it's a good sipping wine. It's
Yeah.
a very enjoyable sipping wine.
yeah, this is. I'm trying to guess what it is. If I had to wager a guess, which this would not be cold climate, but this could be Malbec because there's so much going on in it, or it's a blend of a whole bunch of things. But typically with red wines, it's either going to be on the red fruit side or it's going to be on the black and blue fruit side. Red fruit would be like your Pinot Noirs, and then the black fruit would be kind of in the like a Malbec or a Petit Syrah kind of thing. And so when they blend them together, they want the fruits to kind of blend together, and that's where you get the mixture of red and black. But some varietals on their own, Zinfandel, you got Malbec, a few others, will display multiple fruit qualities just by themselves. So this would be a tough, if I was trying to guess what this is a blind tasting, I'd be sweating. it
Even
pretty-
from the varietal country that it could be from. I'm still going to lean towards Spain myself, but you know, the
A lot of
Malbec-
times there are things like if it's a Rioja, it's going to be a vanilla bomb, and you're gonna taste like some coconut and dill. So there are things that like, okay, this is definitely this. There's nothing in here that's going, okay, this is definitely that. Like the last one was like, this has a lot of Chardonnay qualities, but this one's
Did you say coconut and dill?
coconut and dill are indicative of American oak. So you've got American oak and French oak, and in Spain they tend to use American oak because it's cheaper. Spanish wines are some of the best bargains out there, but the American oak, they both impart vanilla, but if you ever taste dill, get a glass of Rioja sometime, and then see if you can taste dill in it.
But
And
you would
some of
taste
them-
coconut and dill together
Coconut and
because
dill, yep.
that sounds to me like a really terrible combination.
It does sound terrible, and sometimes it is terrible. But if it's done correctly with the fruit and it's in the right vintage and everything came together, it can be delicious. And again, sometimes they go a little bit overboard with the oak. If it's a bad year, they'll just slap a vanilla bomb on it and move on up the road. And if it's a good year, they might not do it as much. So
So how do they actually do that? I'm kind of so curious about, like, years ago I was in the Sonoma area on a business trip, and one of my coworkers happened to know the winemaker at Sterling Vineyards. So we actually had a really behind the scenes tour, and we tasted the Merlot grapes before they were even crushed, just to kind of see the difference between what goes into it and what it ends up being. But how do they decide what to add to it to create a certain kind of a taste?
Well, they don't add there are, I think, 14 strands of what's called Saccharomyces, which is the yeast that goes into the production. A lot of the decisions that they make on which type of yeast to use can impart different flavors on the finished product. But if you're in a certain vineyard, they're growing Merlot over here, they're growing Cabernet over here, and whatever else they do. And so when it gets done, it gets put into these big canisters, and then the scientists go through and they say, okay, we've got 40% of wine 1 and 60% of wine 7. Let's see how that tastes.
Well, I gotta
This one's-
say, the weatherman and Bobby P over here obviously love it because our glasses are empty. You guys are still drinking.
That's because
Yeah.
I'm talking.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's what goes into it. They don't typically add anything to the finished product of wine. It's what goes into it just from the start, and then whatever you end up with, if it's not sweet enough, if it's not tart enough, if it's got too much tannin, then they blend it together, and that's where some wines are better than others.
Ronnie actually brought up another point about a lot of the terminologies that us wine geeks use, like tobacco, stone. You know, people hear that and they say, does it really taste like stone or tobacco? It's hard to explain, even though they use that terminology, but if you taste it, you'll know what that means sometimes, especially with the tobacco or a stone flavor or earthy, like a lot of French wines have a lot of earthy. You want to say dirt because that's sort of a little bit what it tastes like sometimes. So, but
If one of these tastes like tobacco, I'm going to spit it out. I can tell
what's
you
the
that
wines
now.
that do the tobacco? I think that's sometimes is what, like a
Tobacco, when I think of tobacco, I think of South Africa.
Yeah.
They just get a real scorched earth kind of leather tobacco quality to them. Some people love that. I was talking to Chris Williams the other day. He's been on the show, 5 times. He's big into the South African wines. It's not my thing, but if you want a tobacco bomb, go get some South African Pinotage, and that will be an experience for you.
yes.
Not something I reach for, but it's an experience for you. So, yeah,
What is our third wine, Rocky?
I don't know.
that's
Rocky
right,
has
you
to
don't
take a
know,
big
that's right.
sip. And Rocky, while you're pouring it, now I like a good scotch now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Does wine get impacted by the container or by the method of aging as well? Not the length of aging, but what it's aged in and that sort of thing.
Well,
In terms of flavor and
yes,
the way a good
yes
scotch
and no,
does.
but typically they have either used barrels or new barrels.
Okay.
Do you want to splash this and clean it out, or do you want to?
Well,
I just did a
think
splash
cleaned
and
it. I
swallow,
think I
so,
cleaned it pretty well, but
So here, I'll give you a little bit more. No, they're either new or used. A lot of what goes into Scotch is the process of which they cook the malt, which is the barley. They use peat moss, and so some of your Islay Scotch, whenever they, do you want to swish and dump, or do you want to?
No, that's okay.
You just
pour
want
it.
to pour?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
All
No,
right.
that's fine.
We're keeping it simple. But yeah, they use peat moss in the cooking process to open up the barley, because barley in it by itself doesn't ferment. So they have to cook it to open it. And so when they use the peat moss, that creates a different flavor. And that's why some scotches are, for lack of a better way to put it, they kind of have a medicinal thing going on. I call it camphophenique. I like the Islay ones, but they don't really, I mean, it's either American oak, French oak, new or used.
Right.
And that's pretty much what goes into the flavors. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Rocky, I love you, but I think you did what we did at the Oktoberfest party, at your Halloween
yeah.
party. That
Don't
is what
ever
you
let me
call
pour.
a good-sized
Yeah.
pour for a tasting.
Well, you can dump it right into the best in glass. And
Great aroma.
Whatever this is, I've never had it before.
Oh my. That does not, that's kind of a
this is easy drinking.
very forward. There's nothing else going on back there.
Yeah, we call this couch wine. Like and it's, I think there's a lot of qualities similar to the last one that we had on this one. I'm a little torn.
this one doesn't seem anywhere near as fruity.
It's not
What's
as
the other one?
fruity, it's not as tart.
It's almost like grassy, which I wouldn't think
If I had to
a
guess
red wine would
on
be.
what this is,
Italian?
I'm going to say that this is from the Southern Rhone in France. This is probably either a Gigondes or a Côte de Rhône. I can taste Syrah in it. Syrah is kind of it typically has like a blueberry, blackberry flavor to it. And then they'll also put some Grenache in there, which is kind of a red raspberry, cherry. This has a lot of qualities that I would expect out of a Southern Rhone wine. But again, there are also other wines that I confuse with Southern Rhone when I'm trying to guess what it is. So,
Well, it's interesting because this is an example of a wine that sort of dries your palate out a little bit. I mean, your palate's not examining each flavor. It's sort of, you get that first initial taste, and then it dissipates. But it certainly is, to me, it's very dry. This is a very dry wine.
I think it's definitely dry and not, no tannins in this wine.
Not
I
really,
taste, yeah.
not really. That's very surprising. This is what you would call an eating wine. I think you need to eat something with this, maybe cheese, red sauce type meal or something like
I'll
that.
try
Yeah,
it.
they do that
Hang on, I'm
there?
gonna try it.
So when it comes to the tannins, if you guys ever have wine that is mouth drying, that's the tannins that are in the wine. And so that's what they say, you want to eat some fatty foods, because what happens is the fat in the food competes with your saliva for the tannins, and so that it doesn't have that drying quality. It attaches to the tannins, and what the tannins do is that they attach to your saliva, and they pull it all out, and then they dry your mouth out. Well, the fats in the steak will compete with that to do that, so that
And
it
that's-
doesn't have the mouth.
like, that's
So
what I'm
will the
ex-
pepperoni here do that?
Yep, the pepperoni would do that. It's got some high fat. The best thing, that's why if I've got like a really tannic wine, like some of the northern Italian wines, Barolo or like a Cabernet, I love to combine those with like a filet mignon. That's my, one of the classic
Is that coming
combinations.
in right now?
What's
the
that?
filet?
Yeah, the filet will be here
Yeah.
in 2 minutes.
Good.
So, but yeah.
That's the next show. We get to sample steak.
Actually, the
And
next
then,
show
and then we have to do a Scotch show too, now that I brought up Scotch.
Actually, our next show is kind of important, John, you mentioned that. It's our 9th holiday show for Two Guys, a Lot of Wine. And we always do bubbles. We've always had champagne and bubbles. We do a bubble show. And it's going to be a pretty good one this year. I think we have Essie coming on the show this year. And has she done a champagne show with us before in the past? I don't think so.
I haven't. I think Essie has. So that was a few years back before my time. I think when I was researching your show, in fact, I saw the one that she was on.
You're
If I
right, she
remember
was.
correctly, this was about 4 years ago.
So you're
4 or
the
5 years
original
ago.
host?
Yes. I used to have
And
another
Rocky's newer.
Rocky's
I'm
the
newer,
last
yeah.
3 years, 2.5, 3 years.
Yep.
My original co-host Jim, we still stay in touch. He moved to Boston, and he comes down occasionally. We haven't seen him in a while, but hopefully he'll come down to do a show in the future. But that's always one of my favorite shows. Get dressed up in the semi-tux, drink bubbles, and hopefully talk about some good sparkling wine. So I'm gonna have some surprises for you this year. So I know you'll have some.
I have, my wife, Sandy, is trying to talk me into wearing a tuxedo t-shirt, which I don't own yet, so I also don't own a tux. So, but we'll figure something
You don't
out.
have
I'm
to
going
have
to
a
look
tux.
sharp.
You don't. I
And
like
you're-
it, but you just wear a bow tie with a jacket.
And so
it's
you're
fine.
bringing 9 vintages of Dom Perignon,
Yes,
right?
there'll
All of
be
which you're
9,
paying
some
for. And,
Crude,
okay, well, I'm
some
looking
Crude,
forward to
whatever.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to rank this a little bit higher than the other red, only because the more I drank it, and it does have the French characteristics that I like. It is very dry. It does have an earthiness to it.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's not there's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
I think
It-
the pepperoni helped it.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure
I like
did.
it much better now that I had that piece of pepperoni.
Yeah, this is right now. This is really close to the last one that we had for my favorite. So we'll see what the fourth one delivers.
Yeah,
but
and then we'll do the unwrapping. Believe it or not, the time's going by so fast. I hope we have time to do it. But this is
Bobby has to
No
rein me
dogs.
in sometimes because I
Yeah.
go down the Wine Geek trail. And
Oh, it's
and-
interesting.
I like
I'm
the
learning a
Wine Geek
lot.
trail.
Yeah.
so thumbs up again from him and give this a B+.
Yeah.
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah,
I'll give
really,
this
all
a-
of them.
I'll
all
give
of
this
them
a
are
A
nice.
minus. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has got a lot of the qualities that I like. So.
All right, Ronnie, bottoms up. Come on, let's go.
I will
Chop, chop.
try not to pour as heavy a pour this time.
Let Ronnie
so
keep
I'll
drinking. You
start
can pour the
myself.
three of us, and then you can get to Ronnie. That's good. I think that's good, yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. See, the wines are all shaped differently. That's where I'm confused. That's my excuse.
See the color of this one, sort of like.
Yeah, you really can. Yeah,
What do you think,
Completely
right
that was
there?
exactly
Maybe a
my
little.
take too.
Just
is
another
for
Yeah,
little-
this
pour.
one's
Just another little splash.
much redder, more
Yeah, yeah. those are-
purpley.
Yeah.
That one's browner.
I mean, you can
Yeah,
see through it.
this
yeah.
one has Italy written all over it just by looking at it. So I'm gonna. Typically, Italian wines have like a brick color, or aged wines also have a brick color, which I'm assuming, based on our $20 price point, we probably don't have something that it's been aged long enough to get the brick color. But here's another quick fact for you: if you take an apple, you slice it in half and you leave it on your counter, what happens?
Turns brown.
Turns brown. Same exact thing happens with wine as you age it in your cellar. Red wine turns more of a brick color, white wine turns more of a kind of a copper color, but it's the same exact process that's going on. It's so.
Well, I could add my 2 cents. This definitely tastes a little bit older, I think. I think this is one of the more senior wines on the table tonight, in my opinion. I could be wrong when we unwrap it, but I think there's a little bit something else.
It's got a bite.
Little bite to it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's dry like the third one, but it's also has more characteristics of a lot of different fruit varietals.
This has characteristics of Super Tuscan to me.
You're going to stick to that Italian.
If whoever chose this knows me and they picked a Super Tuscan, which would narrow it down to 2, because they know that I like them. I think that Super Tuscans and interestingly, Super Tuscans and Côte d'Arones are the 2 biggest bargains in wine for the price. So,
Wow.
This drink's like a
This
seasoned wine.
this might be my choice.
I could be wrong though.
Yeah,
So.
this is a nice
Yeah, I
wine.
don't like this one as much.
No?
Almost
I didn't think I was
tastes
going to like it, but I
Well,
like it a
You're
lot.
going to hate this, but I taste mothballs.
Mothballs. That's interesting. I've never heard
Okay.
mothballs
No,
before.
that's fair enough. Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's
Got a
not
very
really.
nice
Yeah.
mothbally follow.
We're trying to use the word bombogenesis here.
Yeah,
John.
we are. I know. I
Bombo
can't. I haven't worked it in
Genesis.
yet.
Bombogenesis. We
You know.
finally managed to fit that
Yeah.
into the show after how many years? 9 years.
Exactly.
Bombogenesis finally rolled out. So
Or could we use some
Vinogenesis.
copy editor terms?
you lay it on me. I don't know any
I
copy editor
I don't
terms.
know
I
ones
read
that go with wine, but
I read a lot of articles, and there's a whole bunch of big words in there that I don't know. You know, I'm from Tennessee, so I just
All right,
have
so
to kinda
we got our
pretend.
last 2 minutes. I just got the 2 minutes signed, so
Oh,
I think
boy.
we have to do an unveiling. I mean,
Okay.
if you want to start down at that end first, Rocky, really quick.
Oh, okay.
Do we want to pick our favorites first?
Do we want to pick our favorites?
The last one for me. That's just what I
Okay,
like for red.
so Bob.
I'm going to go first place, the last one, honorable mention, the white.
Okay, so
I'll do the same
Oh,
thing
wait.
for the honorable mention. For the
so
white.
I'm
Don't leave
gonna
me hanging. We're on
be
national TV here.
honorable
There you
mention
go.
the white also, but for me, drinkability. I would say this one if I was having some fatty foods, or that one there.
well, you got to pick one.
I'll pick that one then.
Okay, so that's your number one. Is
My
wine
number
2.
one, just for
Okay.
chilling out and having a
and
glass of wine, not
God,
eating
I'm
anything.
torn between 3 and 4. I'm going to take wine. I think I'm going to take wine 3 as my number one.
What's your number 2? Just curious.
And my number 2 is probably wine 4. So
Ronnie, what's your number 2?
My number 2, I think, was the
white.
Chardonnay.
The white
but
is
but
good,
a-
right?
What was
but
your
a
number
close
2?
Number
tie
2
with
was the
number
white, the
3.
first
Yeah,
one.
so I think
Okay.
all of us, no, 3 of us think the white was the number 2.
Okay, so that one's probably going to win just based on the fact that it was everybody's number 2 except for mine. So
Okay,
we
here we
got
go.
6
We
on
have-
one.
Ah,
Let's see what it
it
is.
is a Chard
Wow.
Unimine. That is the, I've had this one
Yep.
before too. I should have known that. I don't have my specs on. This is
Oh,
from
here.
where?
Here, I can read it.
Okay, so
Argentina,
Argentina.
Yeah.
2017.
Argentinian
Can I,
Chardonnay.
I don't know, can the
Escoda
camera,
Vineyards.
can one of the cameramen get a close-up of the?
Okay, so our
okay,
winner
let me hold
is
it.
from, by the way, the other 2 stores were West End Wines on Raymond Road and Total
West Side,
Wine.
West Side.
West Side.
Rioja. Rocky, second wine was a Rioja.
Second
Wow,
wine,
he knows, Rocky knows
Rioja.
his stuff.
Yeah.
At least
Oh
I knew
my
it was Spanish.
goodness.
That was good.
That was from West Side, was wine 2.
Okay.
So
John, you might
I'm
wanna-
sorry, where was wine 1 from?
wine 1 was from Total Wine,
Total Wine, okay, west
and
side.
that is Chardonnay.
Yep.
That one.
Let you do the reveal there.
and
I'll
then-
take your thunder there.
Wine 4 was from Maximum Beverage. That's our number 2. And then wine 2 and 3 are tied. Let's see, wine
that
3 was
Sirocco?
from Wise
Sirocco?
Old Dog, and that
And
is
that's a Syrah.
that's a Syrah. So I knew I tasted Syrah.
Yeah, it's a
in it,
Syrah.
but
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
absolutely right. Product of Morocco.
That's a new one.
Right, I'm
wow.
sorry, I'll show you,
Morocco.
but we're
So I
running
got
out of
the
time. I want
Syrah
to show the
part
camera
right,
too.
but
So,
Were you talking about South Africa? Oh, no, we were talking about that.
Give me
It's
a
the
nod when you got
tobacco
it. Good.
flavor.
Thank
Rocky,
you.
you get the last one.
Okay, so
we get the
I
right
said, what did I say this was? I said this was a Super Tuscan, so it would be from Tuscany, and it is
Italy. It says Italy.
Rosso from Italy. Where are we
Wow.
from in Italy?
This guy's good, folks.
I can't tell. Negramaro. So
Okay.
I was off on the varietal, but Salento. I don't actually know where that is.
Wow.
So tell the audience what we have for number 1 again.
So number 1 was Unimame Chardonnay, Total Wine, $15 to $17 price range, and then number 2
That was-
Nucero Rioja, if you live there, West Side
No, this one
Wines
right
in the
there.
$16
Oh,
to
this is number two?
$18 price range,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Wine 3 is...
Oh, I thought he meant in
Sir-
order.
Oh,
Okay.
Wine 3 is, from winter to loser, you
That's
mean?
what I think. yeah.
Whatever you wanted to
Oh,
do.
okay.
was-
So then the winner was everybody's second place wine. So I guess that means they won. Like I don't
guess
know
so.
how else to tally this. This is all in good fun, guys. Because anyway.
But check out other establishments.
Well,
yes.
so I guess what it says though is that there's good wines at
Lot of-
inexpensive prices.
Good wines
Yeah.
everywhere. And again,
Yeah.
these were all pretty close for me. Like I'm not a big fan of the Chardonnay, so that one was a little off for me. But
Well, I want
Bobby?
to thank Rocky. Thanks again, Sandy, for buying the wines and doing this. Was fantastic. Ronnie, thank you for coming.
So much fun.
Yeah, check out weha.com, of course, and of course check out West Hartford Friends and Neighbors, and check out the Weatherman. He knows his stuff too.
All right.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in November and December for some great stuff. Until next time, keep all of us in your wine cellar.